You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney Theme Parks podcast. And this is show number 592 for Sunday, the 19th of April, 2026.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to this week's Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good friend Jayne Phipps, we are your guide to the place where dreams begin. Hello there, Jayne.
Hello there, Michelle. And it's kind of, I don't know, this is the after effects of, we had a little meet-up, didn't we, last week?
It was epic. So last week's podcast, 591, was recorded between Kat Lewis and myself. We were just so busy drinking coffee and chatting, we didn't get round to remembering to record a podcast with Jayne in the room as well. And I was like, the minute we'd said goodbye, what are you doing, woman?
That's okay. My chance to visit with you guys was not all about the podcast recording. It was all about finally getting a chance to meet Kat and Lewis in person and spending time with you, of course. And we had some lovely food and coffee. We went around the art gallery. All very civilised, wasn't it?
It was, and yeah, lovely. Lovely to meet up with Disney people and just chat Disney stuff, to be quite honest. And it's, you know, the more time we've done this, it makes me reflect on how many people have sort of come into my life because of this podcast. And it's surreal, like the number of people at work have said, oh, so how did you get to meet people from Australia? Podcast.
Yeah.
You know, so if you do listen to a podcast and you enjoy the content, you know, whether it's this podcast or another, start chatting with the people that create it, because you never know. You could be like Jayne and I. Our lives have been transformed, hopefully for the better, Jayne. I hope you agree with that.
Yes,
by
of course.
Meeting each other, because that's how we came to be. So,
absolutely,
you know, even as I'm sat recording, I have the artwork that Simon created of Mickey as the Dream Finder with Figment that I sort of won in an auction before I really got to know you guys.
Yeah, it's a small world, isn't it, Michelle?
Absolutely. I'm talking of It's a Small World. We have got some Disney history, we have got Disney Imagineers, and we have got a slight link from the history into our main feature for this week's show. So without further ado, let's hop on into this week's Disney history. And the first, Jayne, is, for me, something that I feel really passionate about. So the first history I have got is celebrating the amazing talent of Tim Curry, who was born on this day in 1946 in Cheshire, England. So how do you know Tim Curry? Is it from the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah. I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I cannot count on both hands the number of times I have seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I've seen it numerous times at local theatres close to me, and I saw it in the West End as well. So Anthony Head play Frankenfurter. I've seen Bobby Crush play Frankenfurter. I've seen Jason Donovan play Frankenfurter. Yeah, in fact, just a little aside, I was doing a little bit of sorting through our spare bedroom, and I came across a tour programme, a theatre programme, should I say, for Wicked. I thought, oh yes, I'm keeping that. And I put it in my cupboard along with my little pile of Rocky Horror Show, similar sort of brochures, programmes. And yes, I have rather a few. So,
when you look at his filmography, you've got Disney's Three Musketeers, Muppet Treasure Island, but for me, Mr. Hector in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, that is my second favourite Tim Curry appearance. So, guys, I would love it if you guys would get in touch with us and tell us what your favourite Tim Curry film is. So, a big, happy, fat, juicy 80th birthday to you, sir, on this day in history. And then we're going to move on. Well, when you are given a talent, sometimes you lose a talent. And sadly, on this day in 1987, Milt Kahl, one of the original 9 old men, passed away on this day in Mill Valley, California.
Oh.
When you look at some of these sort of like statesmen, that legends, he wasn't inducted as a Disney legend until 2 years after his passing. But he was quite early into his career at Disney when his colleagues recognised him as an admired draftsman with his skill. And, you know, when you're watching Disney classic animation such as Pinocchio and Sword and the Stone, his artwork is going to live on through ever.
Yeah, it's kind of a classic thing with artists, particularly, isn't it? Where sometimes the recognition isn't given until they're no longer with us. So I think Disney are getting better at rewarding their legends while the legends are still alive to have that appreciation showered on them. So yeah, all kudos to Disney for doing that. But yeah, lots of legends that we shouldn't ever forget about.
Absolutely not, and more about that in a future show. Sci Fi Diner opened on the 20th of April 1991, so that makes this eatery 35 years old.
Wow.
I know, it's, yeah.
Well, 1991 was the year that I visited Disney World for the very first time as well.
Wow. If you have not yet been, there is a table service eatery. It sees guests transported to nighttime 1950s in a drive-in theatre where you are parked in a car or a table and you are able to enjoy food and a 40-minute reel of classic TV ads, horror clips and cartoons. And there's even a sneaky peek of a little bit of Walt chat as well, which is amazing. Now, I know we're going to come back to sci-fi a little bit later on in the show, but Jayne, did you realise when you are sat in sci-fi, the cars have licence plates and the licence plates mix in with the USA states that have the highest UFO sightings?
Ooh.
Also, some of the numbers on the licence plates are the birth dates or special dates of the team involved in the creation of this fun setting.
Oh, I like those little Easter eggs. I think they're really cool. And the fact that the Imagineers get to leave their little mark on something like that. Yeah, nice little touch.
Absolutely. So our Imagineer of the week is Lynn Mesa Rhodes, and she was a producer working with Disney from 1977 all the way through to 2002. So 25 years, and she held a whole range of different management and creative positions, such as Manager of Research and Planning, Director of Programme Development and a producer. She's worked on projects in Walt Disney World, Disneyland Paris, California Adventure, as well as Tokyo Disneyland.
Oh, nice.
So I have got a couple of little quick quotes from her. I most enjoyed working in Tokyo Disneyland because it included a complete immersion in Japanese culture. And I think for me, the culture in Japan is so different to ours. I can't wait to go one day.
Yeah, I think we had a little bit of a chat with Kat and Lewis about this because Simon very fortunate to have visited Tokyo Disney a fair few years ago now. And yeah, there's just the little quirks, I think, between different cultures and their approach to merchandise and things as well. It's, going to be interesting when I finally get out there.
Yeah. Her favourite Disney Parks attraction was the experience at Soaring Around the World over at DCA and Epcot in Walt Disney World.
Oh, of course that's going to be changing soon, isn't it? Going to be soaring across America.
It is, all in celebration of a very special anniversary.
Nothing to do with us Brits, though.
Oh, let's not go down to
No, sorry.
No. It's a total wrong podcast for that. So we mentioned in our Disney history about Sci Fi Diner.
Yes.
So Jayne and I thought it'd be really good to talk a little bit about this eatery because for me, it's a place that if I'm going to book a table service, it probably will be that. But it's not really that for the food. It's more that for that 40-minute immersion and quirkiness, because for some strange reason,
Mm.
drive-in theatres did not really take off in the UK.
Yeah, probably the bad weather that we or the unpredictable weather maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I must admit
So,
I did a little bit of a Google shout because I was a bit curious about this because say the idea of a drive-in the UK is a bit of a weird concept, and I wanted to know where it all kind of came from because and as they do at the Sci Fi Diner, it's very dining. So it's very much that they're evoking that 1950s sort of vibe, and I think that's probably when drive-ins were at their peak in the 50s and 60s. But did you know that they reckon the birth of the drive-in, called the park-in back in the day, goes back to the June the 6th, 1933.
ooh.
So apparently a guy called Richard Hollingshead in Camden, New Jersey, kind of invented it as a result of his mother, who struggled to fit comfortably into standard cinema seats. So to get around this, he nailed a screen to trees in his backyard, perched a Kodak projector on his car's hood, and experimented with getting the right height and the angle to get a clear view. So originally,
Wow.
yeah, so it was marketed as a private theatre box, so it allowed families to smoke, talk, bring crying children, all the things that would normally in a traditional movie cinema theatre would be frowned upon, whereas this meant that people could be a bit more lax, I suppose, because they were viewing it from within their own car. So it then kind of came to a peak in the 50s and 60s. I think this is what we as Brits would tend to think of in our heads, isn't it? That classic 1950s, 1960s era. Apparently there was over 4,000 drive-ins across the US. They picked up the nickname of passion pits because teenagers used it as a dating thing. Who would have thought, eh?
I've seen Grease, Jane. I know what happens at drive-ins.
Oh, yeah, quite, exactly. We all know that, don't we? Apparently, originally, in the very early days, the sound came from a large speaker near the screen, but obviously that didn't work out very well. So by the 50s, that's when they came up with the window-hung speakers. So you drive up to a post, grab the speaker, and like kind of hook it onto your car. And it's also where the intermission kind of came into its own. So apparently, you know the classic "Let's all go to the lobby" little song and the animation, that kind of came out of the drive-ins because they had the intermission, and people would stop and have the burgers, etc. And because it was outdoors, there was a bit of a picnic vibe. So it became this sort of more of an event space than it was, oh, we're just going to go and watch a movie. Apparently there was playgrounds and swimming pools, and so it was a whole sort of like event. You'd go there and have a bit of fun and games and maybe sit out and have a picnic, and then you'd watch your movie. So yeah, but apparently there's only a few hundred now actually remain in the US. But yeah, so it hit its peak in the 50s and 60s. So yeah, but this is kind of like for you and I, this is like we just don't have them in the UK at all, do we? So I was really quite amused by that.
Well, I also know that the one you mentioned in New Jersey was the first one. However, it didn't remain in operation. So the oldest drive-in that is operational is Shankviler's Drive-In Theatre in Orfield, Pennsylvania, which opened on the 15th of April 1934, and it has continued to operate to this date, verified by the Guinness World Record. So I snuck over to their website.
All right, okay. Yeah.
Because, as you do, and I thought, how expensive is it for the food there? Because I know how expensive it is when you're going to Disney. So, hamburger, $5.75.
No.
I know. Cheeseburger, $5.75. All beef hot dog, $3.50. If you want chili or cheese, it's $4.25. You could get cheese fries for $4.50.
I bet that's cheaper than most fast food places, isn't it?
Yeah, and to be honest, the food is such a reasonable price when you compare a large cola is $4.50.
Wow. And we all know what we pay when we go to insert name of your favourite cinema theatre chain. Crikey,
Yeah,
they get your hook, line and sinker, and it ain't cheap to have a little bit of a nibble while you're watching your main movie.
it did make me chuckle because the jumbo popcorn is one of the most expensive things on the menu, but probably the cheapest to manufacture. It
Wow.
blew my mind having a look at that. And I thought, do you know what? Let's support a little bit of sort of like history because it does sound absolutely amazing.
They should make it into like a museum as well, shouldn't they? It's part of Americana. It needs to be preserved, and yeah, all hail.
Yeah. Well, they will be showing The Devil Wears Prada too. So if you're in
Ooh.
that area up in Pennsylvania at the end of April and you fancy going, the gates open at 7, the film's starting at 8:30, and yeah, wow, go,
Go
book
for it.
it.
Support them.
It
Yeah,
sounds fun,
definitely.
doesn't it?
It
So
does.
now we know what traditional fare was going to be like.
Mm.
I thought we'd have a little look at the current menu at Sci-Fi
Mm.
and sort of put forward what we'd like to see at Sci-Fi from the history and the knowledge of what goes on. So at the moment, you have your appetizers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, Jane, but for me, Sci-Fi to me doesn't scream a place I'd go for an appetizer. I just want the main and the dessert. Or
Yeah.
I might want a couple of appetizers, then a
A
dessert. But you can
dessert.
choose from
Mm.
their classic onion rings, which are always a solid yes for me.
Mm.
They have a wedge salad.
Mm-hmm.
They have wings, nachos, corn dogs, and that's your appetizers.
Mm.
So I'm just thinking if I was eating this in a traditional vehicle, I wouldn't be wanting a salad.
No, I'm thinking it needs to be like food that you can hold in your hand, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, so I can understand where they're going with the wings. I'm not a wing person.
No,
I can
me neither.
understand with the mini corn dogs. Again, nice little bites if you're into corn dogs and your crispy onions. And then if you're plant-based, the nachos are plant-based. And I don't think the prices are too ridiculous because they range between $11 and $16 for your sci-fi, which is for your sci-fi appetizers, which is sort of like average.
Mm. Yeah, not too snobby, yeah.
Then we move on to your mains. Now,
Mm.
from what we've done in our research, this is basically your food in a bread roll.
Yeah, like I say, it's got to be something you can pick up with in your hand, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, and they do it on the tin for whatever type of person you have. There's a fried chicken sandwich, a feature film burger which changes up seasonally. There's a
Ah,
beamed up burger if you like your smash burgers. So there's 2 patties in that one. A little bit of spice coming through some jalapeno, bourbon, bacon jam. Sounds
nice.
delish.
Mm.
Nice brioche buns, which I believe they're all in. Then there's the chicken salad with a little bit of citrus running through it.
Mm.
Nice. I'm happy with that
Yeah,
one.
if you're going to go
Then there's the
light, yeah.
classic, then there's your classic American burger. Can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If you're plant-based, there's your Impossible burger.
Okay.
So for me, I think all of those are really good choices. And if Sci-Fi's Kitchen are producing these effectively and well,
Mm.
each of those will be a surefire hit because let's be honest, if you've been in Sci-Fi, you know it's not the lightest of place. And it's not a place you want to be trying to cook delicately around a chop or cook delicately around a fatty cut of steak.
Yeah, we actually tried sci-fi for the first time and only time this about March last year, and at the time it was towards the early part of the vacation, and we were still trying to be quite good with our eating. So we decided to have one of the burgers. I can't remember which one it was back then, but in lettuce rather than in the brioche bun.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, we were being healthy. Not the easiest to eat in the dark though.
No.
It kind of fell apart a little bit, and then you're trying to cut into it. So, first-hand experience, just stick to the bun. Much easier.
Yeah. And you've got a light on your phone, but then other people are watching the movie and blah blah blah. So it puzzles me why there are these three things on this menu. Cheese ravioli. Who in their right mind wants to go to a drive-in movie theatre and eat ravioli?
Yeah, it's as when we talk about themed venues, you automatically would assume that the themed food that they would have for a drive-in would be burger based, hot dog based, wings
Yeah.
based, that type of vibe.
Yeah, and there's so many options now. If you are plant-based, you can have a plant-based burger. So why don't they bring into this menu a plant-based hot dog and a meat hot dog and get rid of cheese ravioli, get rid of the grilled pork chop, get rid of the steak frites. I think those three items there are for the canny people who are on the Disney dining plan, who want to get the most expensive thing on the menu to get the
Ah,
most value.
may
But
well
to be
be,
honest,
yeah.
you don't want to be eating steak and chips in the dark.
Well, no, and if you're fancying a steak, I'm not a connoisseur of Disney steak restaurants, but I'm guessing you can get a better steak elsewhere.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I have been to Cafe Circle restaurant in DCA and had the most succulent, the most amazing grilled pork chop, costing nearly $60. I ain't going to be going to Sci Fi Diner and ordering a grilled pork chop because it's not the right atmosphere to have a pork chop with polenta and savoury peach chutney.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because I can see that Disney are trying to elevate their quote unquote theme park food. I understand
Yeah.
what they're trying to do, but actually, there is a place for the staples of burgers and hot dogs and wings, and this kind of the vibe of this restaurant does lean into that very heavily. So does it need to have those other options because part and parcel of some of the dining experiences that you do within Disney World, it's not just about the food, it's about the experience, it's about the location, it's about the theming. And if you're looking for more elevated dining options, there are those around most of the parks. Particularly, some of your table service restaurants, you're going to get that different vibe of food, aren't you? So,
Yeah, absolutely agree. And when it comes over to the dessert option, again, it's a diversion away from what this type of eatery should be doing because we've got a vanilla sponge roulade.
yes, because nothing says roulade like a drive-in, does it?
No, not unless I'm picking it up in my paw. I would be removing that. The cerulean moon sounds absolutely fantastic for somewhere like Satuli Canteen, chocolate mousse
Mm.
dome with strawberry filling on a graham cracker crust with hibiscus sponge and green space dust and chocolate caramel sauce. People aren't coming to sci-fi for that kind of mucked about food.
And to be fair, Michelle, because we all know how dark it is in there, you can have these beautifully presented desserts. Are you actually going to be able to appreciate how well they've been presented?
No,
No.
why do you think your Instagrammers don't tend to go and photograph the food at sci-fi? Because it's too dark.
You need something like, ice cream cone type things or the shakes that they do. Something like that fits better into the dessert vibe,
Yeah.
surely.
Well, they have a plant-based cookie shake, which is the plant-based milk and cookies topped with coconut whipped cream. If you are plant-based, that's a solid dessert. If
Mm.
you're not plant-based, hot fudge sundae. What screams more to us than a drive-in than a hot fudge sundae?
Yeah, classic American dessert type things, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you want to do something that's a little bit more sort of like theme parky and driving, well, on the menu we mentioned earlier, they had a funnel cake. For heaven's sake, I think people would be going in droves because a funnel cake is a fantastic dish to serve between two people. So this is a kind of thing where most people who go there would probably share the ice cream sundae, share a funnel cake. Disney, you need to do that.
Yeah, definitely a good idea.
But the biggest thing that chuckles my what's-its the most on this menu is the kids' appetizers.
Okay.
I have got experience of children through being an educator and a parent. I have never in my life taken my children to a burger place and they've turned around and said, "Oh, Mama, could I have chicken noodle soup, please?"
Have you not, Michelle? You do
No,
surprise me. Oh.
because who wants to eat a chicken noodle soup in the dark? Because you know you're going to end up wearing most of it.
And also, what? I don't know many kids that want a garden salad either, to be fair.
True. You know, the mains are fantastic. Mini corn dogs, mac and cheese, chicken skewer, cheeseburger, chicken bites. I do think they need a plant-based option for a child because there are people out there that do want to bring their children up on a plant-based diet. I think Disney should give children that option. So maybe one of the burgers could be made as a plant-based one as well. But you've got lots of options with your sides. You've got your green beans and carrots, your mash, you've got corn on the cob, fruit salad, a galactic pudding, or ice cream sundae. And children are able to pick two sides. So if they want to have mash and green beans, then they have to pay out of pocket for the ice cream sundae. Or they can just have green beans and then an ice cream sundae. It's how your kid rolls.
Yeah. I say mains and stuff. There's stuff there, isn't there? The appetizers. Yeah.
Yeah, because again, it does make me chuckle when you're going onto the beverages and seeing a bottle of wine at $79. If you are spending $79 on a bottle of wine, are you going to be doing it in a drive-in? Let's be honest.
No.
I wonder how many bottles of wine they sell a week.
Crikey, even at $20 for the glass. I mean, I want to be enjoying that glass of wine. Not chugging it back. It's not a chugger, is it? It's a sit down and enjoy it.
I honestly think that the alcoholic options are on there purely for those people on the dining plan, because whether you get a starter and a main, you get your alcoholic beverage. So to have a glass of wine with it, I totally get. Or maybe some of the cocktails that they have, because they do have a wide range of things. But again, with a cocktail, you want to be able to appreciate it on the eye, and you can't really enjoy your espresso martini as much if you can't see that lovely foam on the top.
Yeah, I mean, old-fashioned is old-fashioned, but yeah, there's some of them that, it's like orbiting Oreos, Oreo milkshake top mixed with Mozart chocolate liqueur and a souvenir glow cube. Yeah, you need the glow cube so you can see what you're drinking.
But again, what do our listeners think about this? Are Jayne and I onto something? Should Disney change their menu to fit a drive-in rather than trying to shoehorn fine dining into something that isn't fine dining? Because for me, if I want a good burger, this is the place I want to go for a good burger and the atmosphere. And I think Disney need to focus on what they do well. They've got the atmosphere. Let's get the menu that matches.
No, absolutely. I think I'm with you, Sharon. By all means, experiment with different types of food, and I'm all for them elevating their dining experiences, but perhaps not at this particular locale.
And you can do a posh burger, add a bit of pork belly, add a bit of brisket, add a bit of something to it. You can really make these burgers stand out.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't have to be your bog standard theme park burger. And people would pay for that because, I've not had a burger with pork belly on before. Oh, let me try that. Or, it's a Hawaiian burger. Oh, I'm going to try that.
Definitely.
Anyway, guys, let us know what you think at DisDreamGirls over there on Instagram. Email info@disneydreamgirls.com. We would love to hear from you. Now, next week we have an amazing listener's question to deal with a big, big problem a lot of our listeners are facing. And that is, it's my first trip at Walt Disney World. Where do I start? So if you have got some top tips that you would like to share with our listener, please, please, please get in touch and we will air them on show number 593. But until next time, it's a goodbye from me.
And bye from me.